Hey, good morning, everybody. Hope you're doing well. So we're continuing on with our series of MLB trade rumors, news, a lot of things pertaining to the Yankees and other teams. And I have a special guest today as well. We're concluding the series with Hector Beauchamp. He's from, you got Knights of Degen, okay? They have a very special podcast called Yankees Morning Brew. He was nice enough to invite me on about a week and a half ago. We had a great time. I wanted to invite him on here so that we could, we could talk about our MLB trade deadline predictions, because dude, the trade deadline is 4 days away. So things are starting to pick up, right? Cashman drew first blood, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But Hector, I want to welcome you to the channel. Thanks for coming on today, my man.
No, man, brother Jason, thank you for having me on. I appreciate you even answering me when I first messaged you about jumping onto the channel a week or so ago. But no, 100% so glad to be here. Shout out to the game, 161 River Ave.
Appreciate that, man. Appreciate that. So without further ado, man, give me your take on the Andrew Benintendi trade. Are you happy with it? What's your take? Just give me your insight.
Ultimately, I'm happy, right? We finally figured out the Gallo situation. Gallo's going to be gone within the next couple of days. The Gabagool, he's gone. So I'm happy that Andrew Benintendi's here. He adds a different dynamic to this lineup. This dynamic, and the Yankees have been known to be pop or go home run or go to sleep. That's how the Yankees lineup has been. It's been a breath of fresh air the past few years having DJ LeMahieu in the lineup, but DJ needs someone else to complement him in that same type of role. So having Andrew Benintendi on the air, I think will help DJ LeMahieu as well down the stretch, because when you're looking at the dugout during the game, you always see Stanton, Rizzo, and Judge huddled up next to each other. DJ doesn't have that contact hitter that's like him, where he could talk like, yeah, go this way or go that way, or like just approach. So having Benintendi in the lineup, I think is going to work wonders for DJ.
That's a really good point. I didn't even think about that. I to your point too, I think having that contact guy, but one of the things he addresses that he's good at is one of the things that the Yankees are terrible at, which is hitting with runners in scoring position. And the Yankees have been brutal at that this weekend. No, but it's here. And the top two Yankees with runners in scoring position have been Aaron Judge and surprisingly Isaiah Kiner-Falefa. And adding a guy like this adds another contact hitting dynamic from the left-handed side. It adds an aggressive base runner too. It adds a guy with speed who's a good defender in the outfield. So, and the ability to lengthen this lineup, right? You can plug him at the top, and what that does is it pushes that terrible bottom third of the lineup down. So we're replacing an automatic out like something like Gallo with a guy like Andrew Benintendi. So to me, that's a win-win in a lot of different ways. I'm pretty happy about it too. I was worried. I have to confess, I was worried about the vaccination status, but it sounds like it's going to get resolved. He was even talking to Cole and Judge at the All-Star game. He said he's going to get vaccinated. So that makes me feel better because we'd love to have him if they're playing in Toronto, whether it be the regular or postseason.
Even the answer he gave to the media, I thought was professional. At first, it seemed like it was a little bit sketchy, but at the end, he cleaned it up, said, listen, I'm not totally opposed to closing the door on getting it. I never said that I wouldn't. So hearing him say that is a lot better than like what a lot of people have been saying. But with the Andrew Benintendi trade, I think the Royals, they got a good return. They may not be prospects that pop out right now, but when I was down there in Tampa, when I saw Jason Dominguez play for the Tarpons, I saw that pitcher, Chandler. Chandler was a starting pitcher, and he looked solid. He had a fastball that was consistent, 96 to 98. And then TJ Swerve, I can't pronounce his last name.
Sycamore?
He's Sycamore, something like that. But the lefty, he reminds me of a CJ Wilson, Andrew Miller type of prospect who starts off as a starting pitcher, but will turn into a reliever. I know he's up there in age, but I think I can see him turning into a reliever within the next few years with the Royals.
And three pitchers with upside, right? And even Beck Way. I mean, two of these guys were top 30 Yankee prospects. So I think the return is solid for Kansas City with based on what they needed. I thought they were trying to get more, but the fact that Benintendi is a free agent at the end of the season, I don't think they were going to get a big haul anyway. But to me, this was a good Cashman trade because he didn't forfeit any good prospects that he can flip use to the other big trades. Now, speaking of that, my personal opinion, do you think he should pivot strictly to pitching? And if you were him, what would you do?
The pipe dream is Juan Soto, right? We all want Juan Soto. That's the pipe dream, right? But we have to be realistic with it. The difference between like the Dodgers and the Yankees when it comes to making a Juan Soto deal is the Dodgers and Yankees both have the finances to make it happen. But the Dodgers are more willing to part with their top prospects to get Juan Soto than the Yankees are. The Yankees are trying to be very conservative, fall back, and have that, control when it comes to player control. When you look at the Yankees' payroll structure over the next few years, they have 11 to 12 players that are under arbitration control, right? So that's beautiful. So for the financial point, we can make it happen, but it's the prospects that's holding it back. And if I'm the Yankees, I want to go all in with Juan Soto. 100% want to go all in. But knowing them, knowing they can't, they're not going to.
Yeah, and you brought up the point. Cashman has not been, and I think how to, they have not been willing to part with big prospects in a way that the Dodgers have been in some other teams, or the Astros and whatnot. And so if they're not going to pivot to Juan Soto, I mean, the attack's got to be pitching.
Yeah.
Pitching. So like Luis Castillo, if you were to load up on pitching, I mean, I personally think that 2 starters and 2 relievers would be ideal for this Yankee team. Now, how would you attack the pitching? What would you do?
The pitching, it would be 2 things, like I said, 2 starting pitchers, right? Luis Castillo is the first one. If we can't get Luis Castillo, I don't think there's another number 2 ace out there that's attractive enough to give up top prospects for, right? But I would attack Luis Castillo, try to get him as much as we can. If we have to part ways with Jason Dominguez, that's going to be a stretch. But if we have to, hey, give me Castillo and give me Diaz, right? If you want Jason Dominguez, I want Diaz back in return. You can have him, but I want Diaz back in return. So we can have both Castillo and Diaz for the bullpen. And then I will call Arizona, right? And I know I'm not sure how people feel about this, but I will inquire on Madison Bumgarner from Arizona, right? Try to see if we can facilitate a trade. Bumgarner has 3 or 4 years left on his contract. Try to see if we could throw Josh Donaldson into that trade and try to get their third baseman as well from Arizona, so that we could put him right at third base and he could play the corner outfield spots as well. So we could shift Judge, how we have him in center field, put him in right field or left field, have him play third base with Bumgarner being the extra pitcher.
It's actually an interesting proposal, actually. I never thought about that. Taking a couple of years of Bumgarner in exchange, giving him the 1 more year of Donaldson, which would still be a net savings for Arizona. They would still save money. And I like Bumgarner. I just don't like him as the first. Like, I can't see him instead of Luis Castillo. He'd have to be the second pitcher. Right?
Exactly. Same.
Somebody like Martin Perez, or Frankie Montez. He'd have to be the second pitcher. And to me, Castillo, his impact on the Yankees potentially would be greater than his impact anywhere else. Like, would he make the Dodgers better? Yes. But do the Dodgers need him as bad as the Yankees? No. Do the Blue Jays need him as bad as the Yankees? No. I think he would make the Yankees better than he would make any other team. So I think with that said, that to me tells Cashman, like, we got to get this dude. Right? It tells me, if I'm Cashman, we got to get this guy. We have to move buildings together. If we have to sacrifice an Oswald Peraza, okay, we sacrifice him because of the guy we're getting here. And they talk about Will Warren, who's now the Yankees' number 8 prospect overall. You add him, and then you maybe throw another fringe prospect or something like that to get Castillo. And again, if they want to shoot higher, like you said, if they want Dominguez, then I'm going to need Alexis Diaz back, because he's the controllable reliever. He's got about 4 years of control after 3, and put that arm in the bullpen, and you get your starter and you get your reliever. It kind of has to be that way. I find the Donaldson and to Arizona for Bumgarner pretty intriguing, actually.
With the reason why I brought up the Jason Dominguez first, when it comes to the Reds, is that when you look at the Reds prospects, their top prospects is majority infielders. So they already have Jonathan India at second base. So they need an outfield prospect. So it's either Jason Dominguez or a combination of Everson Pereira and Elijah Duran, maybe Andujar and Florio as well, just because, Andujar is more major league ready. Florio, we don't know what he is in the majors. So maybe a package of that, but then, like, I hear rumors of the Pablo Lopez, Gleyber Torres being included with some prospects for Pablo Lopez. I like that as well. Like I wrote this in your chat last night, as we get closer to the trade deadline, at first a week ago, it was a seller's market, right? It was a seller's market. They wanted the moon for, like, Andrew Benetendi. We was talking about Oswald Peraza at first for Andrew Benintendi. But as the time going on and Cashman worked the magic, and now you have more teams that are selling now at this point, it's starting to turn into a buyer's market. We got the Marlins, who came out saying everyone's is tradable except for Alcantara. You got the Detroit Tigers, who came out and said everybody's available. Soon you're going to have the Boston Red Sox. Granted, I know the Yankees aren't going to be trading with Boston, but it just makes the market so much better when it comes to assets and who you can get.
And yeah, and two, you make a good point too about Lopez, the Marlins, because he's now available. The Indians have now made their starters available, and even Astros are listening to offers too. I can't see the Astros trading with the Yankees, but the Marlins, you know, I like Pablo Lopez because he has an additional year of control over Castillo, over Montez, right? And if you can add an offensive piece, let's say you give Gleyber Torres and some other players back, you try to get somebody like a Joey Wendell to come back here. He plays all the field position. He hits from the left-handed side. He's also a good baseman. He's also a 300 hitter, just like Benetendi. So before Benetendi, we haven't had any 300 hitters.
No.
Now we have one. There's potential we can get two there. And I could see a package of Torres and some high-end prospects. You'd have to give up probably Peraza and whatnot to get him. But this is Pablo Lopez too. So you make a move for a guy like that. Does he move the needle like Castillo? I don't know. But if we can't get Castillo, I want to get the guy with the extra year of control. Castillo's, to me, target number one. But Pablo Lopez is kind of like target number two ahead of Frankie Montez, in my opinion. So that's kind of how I would do it too.
And then on top of it, Pablo Lopez, he's younger too than Castillo. Pablo Lopez is 26. Luis Castillo is 29. That extra year of controllability, that right there is what separates it as well. That what makes, to me, Pablo Lopez a lot more intriguing because on the contract, you got Garrett Cole and then Luis Severino. After that, it's just arbitration. Jordan Montgomery has 1 year left before he's going to walk. Nestor Cortez has 5 years of control. That's crazy. Yankees going to have him for the rest of his career. But when it comes from our starting pitchers, the only ones we have locked up are Garrett Cole and Luis Severino. Everyone else is either arbitration is going to walk. Jameson Taillon is going to walk after this year. I don't think the Yankees are going to give him an extension.
I think he's pitching himself out of an extension. He pitched great last night, but like I need to see more of the first half of the season, Taillon, than the other way around. Like he's been having one good game and 5 bad ones, one good. So maybe there's a shot he pitches, but if he gets an extension, it'll be a smaller one. So we need people, and I've said this before. Cole is the only guy on the team that regularly throws between 170 and 200 innings, gets 200 strikeouts, and puts himself in position to win almost 20 games every year, right? 16, 17, 20. To me, those guys are horses. Garrett Cole's a thoroughbred. It's different. You got Cole, you got Scherzer, you got DeGrom, you got Corbin Burns. Like the thoroughbreds are here. The horses are here, right? He is a thoroughbred. Okay. Yeah. And as much as folks, and I appreciate when people say that Cortez is an ace and those guys, they pitch like aces the first half of the season, but they're on limits. I'd love to see Cortez gradually build things up because and one of the things I learned as being a former baseball player too, that with regards to pitching, they generally building up a pitcher don't like adding about more than 30 to 40 innings per season for a pitch to let them kind of gradually build. So if he was at 90, he should be topping out at 130 this year. So 130 should be topping out at 170 the following year, rather than going from 90 to 180. He's already passed his innings limits for the season. So it's wise now to kind of either stretch him out with another starter, give him that 6 days rest when he can get it, or make sure he doesn't go any more over 5 innings. And then we have the long relief guys to kind of complement him. Because my goal is to keep him safe. He's been reliable. I like him, but I want to keep him healthy. So, and that's my biggest fear. Like Severino's already hurt. Now, I think he's best suited for the bullpen when we come back, or when he comes back from injury. And we just don't know. But I'd rather have 2 innings of darts thrown by Luis Severino, 100, just pumping dudes out, right? I'd much rather have that than potentially getting hurt again as a starter. And he's got a team option for next year too, which they'll probably pick up. But that's one reason I say 2 reliable starters one way or another would, because if you go to the playoffs, like you have Cole and Cortez and they have question marks. I would love Cole, Castillo, Cortez, the triple C's, C, right? Yeah, just like that. And to me that's much more appealing than anything else. And
it's to me, I'm 100% on board with you, right? Because you bring up a great point when you're speaking about Nestor Cortez and the innings limits and stuff like that. If Nestor Cortez gets to 180 innings, he would die. He will break in half. That man, but his body is not used to it. You guys have to understand that. Like, our bodies aren't meant for this motion nonstop every day. No, that's not how our bodies are meant. Every year has to be a gradual increase, like you said. So I can see both Cortez and Severino going to the bullpen, right? Because Nestor Cortez is almost at his limit with July 29th. We got August, September, and October to go. So personally, for the stretch run, Nestor Cortez, Severino has to come out of the bullpen. Make the trade for Luis Castillo. Bring in Madison Bumgarner to be that higher veteran gun so we can have for the stretch run for the postseason. Now, it's going to be tricky because I'm not sure if Madison Bumgarner will even want to come to the Yankees or come to New York. He's a country thoroughbred. He walks in the woods barefoot. That man's a thoroughbred. He is unique. I love Madison Bumgarner, his outside personality, but I would want to have Madison Bumgarner because I think when it turns to October, he turns on an extra gear. It's like having El Duque. It's like David Cone. It's like that guy that can just flip it on when the pressure's on.
He is money in the postseason. I gotta give him that. He's absolute money. So I'm not opposed to Madison Bumgarner. I mean, Castillo and Bumgarner sounds better than just Bumgarner, right?
Mm-hmm,
There's another guy, Martin Perez from the Rangers out there too. He's a 31-year-old pitcher on the left-handed side. I think he's probably gettable. And he could be another guy I think that they could plug in as a second starter. So I'd be fine with either one of those as long as it comes with a red bow with Luis Castillo on it. Like,
same.
He would be ideal. And Castillo and Montez would be fantastic, but the cost is going to be prohibitively high.
To me, and I've said this a bunch of times, I'm just very iffy when it comes to trading with the Oakland A's, right? I have PTSD. I do not trust the Oakland A's. If you just look at the track record over the past 20 years, right? The only pitcher that was an ace that they traded away and continue to be an ace was Tim Hudson. Besides that, every other pitcher that they traded away was a flash in the pan, probably 1 or 2 good seasons. That's it. Mark Mulder had to retire early. Like, so they don't pan out after they leave Oakland. So that's why I'm just worried about trading with Oakland.
It's a good point. I never even thought of that, actually. Yeah, Barry Zito was not very good when he went to San Francisco.
Exactly. He signed that big contract.
Yeah.
And everybody wanted him to be a Yankee. Including me. When I was in high school, I wanted him to be a Yankee at the time.
Yeah, he's a Cali boy too, so it just made sense. I get it.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually I never thought about that way. I never thought about that way. Well, that's a good point, man. Now let's pivot over to the bullpen. All right, to me, you have Clay Holmes, and if you want to be Peralta, kind of getting healthier again, John Lasagna, right? But after that, I just don't know. What I hope for a productive and dominant Aroldis Chapman, yes. But I'm not banking on it. And the last thing I want to do now that Michael King is out, unfortunately, the last thing I want to do is overwork Clay Holmes so that he becomes not as dependable. So that's why I think adding 2 relievers would be a good idea. Because the fact, at the end of the day, I don't think Chapman, Britton, and probably Herman are going to make the postseason roster. I mean, if Gallo's still here, I'd be shocked. But if he is, I don't think he's going to be on the postseason roster either. So that's already in the 3 pitchers that aren't going to be on the roster. And again, a couple of reliable relievers would be a wise idea. I mean, there's a couple of guys, the Tigers relievers. So I would like Scott Barlow. And we'll get into our predictions in a few minutes, but I would like David Bednar. We talked about him before. And he's a big burly power armor I love. He just reminds me of Liam Hendricks, this big stocky dude.
Yeah.
But is that going to happen? I don't know. I mean, I could see Cashman making a couple moves before the deadline and then waiting till the deadline day and making some kind of secret move like he always does, some stealth trade at the end where he pulls up a guy like Clay Holmes like he did last year. We're like, what? Who's Clay Holmes?
Everyone.
I didn't know who he was. I never heard of the guy.
Another perfect example of Cashman being Cashman and just sliding behind the wings and making a perfect deal. When you look at Clay Holmes, this year was the first year Clay Holmes is eligible for arbitration. We have Clay Holmes for the next 5 seasons. This year, next year, the year after, and the final arbitration year, we have him under control. These are great moves by Cashman.
Yeah, you got him. You got Trevino with controllable years. You got a lot of dudes with control. Nestor Cortez, a lot of controllable years. Years. The only person that's close is Monty, like I said, and after Monty is Gleyber Torres, right? So we still have this year and 2 more years of Gleyber Torres. Besides that, everybody else is just locked in and loaded and just set for us. Yeah, that's true. This is true. So that's the other thing. I like to get guys with controllable years. And Clay Holmes is actually very close friends with David Bednar. But I can see the Yankees be like, look, you guys fleeced us with Holmes. We're pissed at you. You're not getting Bednar. So I can see him doing that. You know what I mean?
Look
Like,
at the Brian Reynolds talk. Oh, like they've been teasing us and they just been pushing. It's like with the Brian Reynolds, it feels like they're about to say yes to a deal, but at the last minute they're like, no. You remember Clay Holmes? You remember Clay Holmes?
I know. Yeah, these guys have anxiety over what can, and it's like Cashman we just got our ass kicked by this little tiny dude. Like, what? God. But that's what happens. But I am a firm believer of getting two relievers one way or another to solidify the rotation and the bullpen to put these guys in a position, because at the end of the day, we need guys to neutralize. We saw how tough it was when we played the Mets. We need the right pitchers and we need the right hitters. So Benetendi, I think, is going to help. Now, we get Benintendi and then DJ and then Judge. Like, it changes things. At 1 through 6, they're much better now. 1 through 6, they don't have to lead off DJ anymore. They don't have to lead off Judge anymore. Like, that to me is a huge bonus, right? And I like to have a guy with wheels at the top. I like to have a guy with wheels towards the bottom. So if you're going to keep batting IKF 7th, at least we have wheels across the lineup, right? So
I always see a major league lineup as you break it into 3 sections. You got 1, 2, 3, then 4, 5, 6, then 7, 8, 9. If you can have a combination of a leadoff hitter, a number 2 hitter, and a number 3 hitter in those 3 spots, I think that's the perfect balance to a lineup.
Yeah, I mean, look at now. Like, let's just say Benetendi leads off, right, and then DJ second, 2 contact hitters right in a row, which is good. And then you put in Judge into a consistent RBI spot, and then you got Rizzo. And I'm not really concerned too much about his batting average. I like to be higher, but okay. But like, he's 4th now. Judge is 5th. And you get the righty lefty thing going on too. Now 6, you can kind of I would consider putting IKF 6th. And moving Donaldson down, if you're going to keep Donaldson, you move him down 7 or something like that instead of batting him 5th. He's not a 5th hitter right now, or 4th. He should be down a little bit lower. And then you have Trevino, like guys like that at the bottom. It's just a better. If you replace Gallo with a Trevino, you replace Gallo with Donaldson, it's an upgrade. Okay, and it's not even Hicks. You know, so it's an upgrade to the offensive attack, and it's a little more balanced, I think. So, and I like. Again, I like wheels. I like guys who run the bases.
Yeah, and even with Hicks, right? We're talking about Hicks. A lot of Yankees, we were beating up Hicks at the beginning of the season, early in the season, and he's having a better year than Josh Donaldson. When you look at the numbers, his numbers are better than Josh Donaldson's at this time. And I think Aaron Hicks has fought for his position, and he's earned it. Is it 100%? Am I 100% in love with it? No. Would I turn down an upgrade for it? I wouldn't turn down an upgrade. If we could call up Chicago and get Ian Happ and David Robinson, I'll do that in a heartbeat. Let Aaron Hicks be the 4th outfielder. I have no quarrels with that.
Yeah, and then look at me. I'll just use the Mets as a comparison. They had no problem eating the remaining $45 million on Cano's contract to say bye, right? Because he was a wasted spot in the lineup, in the roster. I think once the fangs for Gallo leave, once he leaves, those fangs are going to go right to Donaldson. Right? Pause the fangs. They're gonna want him just thrown to the wolves. I can see it already. He's almost becoming the right-handed version of Gallo right now, and people are gonna people are pissed. Can't blame him. Can't blame him. Right? His defense is elite, but again, it's negated by his terrible offensive stats. He gets the occasional home run and a double, which is great, but we need a consistent attack with him. And if you're not putting up the numbers, leave the swag, leave the attitude in the dugout, please. Okay.
Yeah.
Leave it in the dugout. Unless you can back it up with your bat, leave it in the dugout. That's just the way I see it. So
and I feel Josh Donaldson. I wrote this as well in your chat last night. Josh Donaldson, he's that type of player that when fans start getting on him, that feeds him, right? That feeds him energy. I don't know why. Some people that are just wired that way, they're psychopaths like that. But Josh Donaldson, to me, it's that same psychopath. And I feel that he will eat off of the fans killing him. And hopefully, I'm knock on wood, hopefully he can produce from this.
I'm not worried about him not being able to handle New York. Gallo clearly cannot handle New York.
Yeah.
It's just not a fit. I'm not worried about that with Donaldson. I just need to produce more consistently. We're not asking for 35 home runs. This is not like 5 years ago MVP touchdowns. Get that. Just a moderate level of production and some good defense. We'd be happy. Happy, right? But we'll see. We'll see what we get. If they move him, I'd be shocked. But if he moves them, that's a Cashman move. I don't know how the hell you got this guy. You attach a big prospect to have somebody take Donaldson's money. Genius. They did that a few years ago. They had a top pitching prospect named Brian Mitchell, and to the Padres said, if you want Brian Mitchell, you have to take Chase Headley's $13 million too. They took Headley's $13 million just to get this prospect. Cashman does that too. So I could see that happening. I could, not predicting it, but I could see it happening.
Yeah, and when you look at Josh Donaldson's contract, right, he's under control this year, next year. The final year in his deal is a mutual buyout. So it's basically him and the team coming to a mutual buyout. He gets paid $6 million just to walk away. So you know, looking at Arizona, the rebuild that they're in right now, Arizona's payroll is like 85, 84 million, and the majority of that Madison Bumgarner is making with 25 million.
Yeah, crazy.
And then you get that third. His name is, I think it's Diaz, the third. Peralta. This is escaping me, but you get the third baseman from Arizona. He plays third base, he plays left field, right field, and he's a switch hitter, and he's the contact hitter. He doesn't strike out as much, so I think that would be a perfect balance to this lineup.
Not a bad point. I like it. Actually, you know what? Let me look him up because now I'm curious how Arizona Diamondbacks, before we go any further, because we're going to get to our trade deadline prediction, I'm really curious to know Arizona Diamondbacks infield. Let's just take a look. Is it wait a second. Hold on here. We have wait, these aren't even Diamondbacks. What's going on here? There's a bunch of different players. Let me just go to the roster. Here we go. Position players. We have
David Peralta.
Yeah, he plays infield and outfield. He's 34, a little bit older. I know that we're talking about it as an outfield guy, but
he plays third base, first base as well.
I would take him if Arizona would take. I mean, I would even take him in Bumgarner if the Arizona Diamondbacks would take back Donaldson. That'd be a fair trade. And again, Diamondbacks would still be saving money.
Yeah, they'll be saving money. And we brought up the Luis Castillo. I think that's where the Yankees are going to land. Luis Castillo. I think that's the starting pitcher that they want. And, you know, I know a lot of Yankee fans are upset that, oh, my God, why are the Reds holding him hostage? Listen, it's a part of the job. If you was a Reds fan, you would want your organization to do the same exact thing. If we were in the same position like the Reds, you want Brian Cashman to get back as much as you want. You guys don't remember when we sold Aroldis Chapman to the Cubs for Gleyber Torres? You guys were happy with that. Andrew Miller to the Guardians. You guys were happy with that. You have to get as much as you can back in return.
Yeah, most definitely. And now we're kind of working our way over. So let's talk about our predictions, the nitty-gritty. So, I mean, it's going to be crazy. You know, Cashman already drew first blow with the Benetendi trade. Now I think that things are going to pick up over the next couple of days. So, let me throw a couple of names at you. Frankie Montas. Where do you think that going?
I'm surprised everybody. Minnesota. I think the Twins are going to. They need to ramp up that starting rotation, and I think Frankie Montas is going to be under the radar. The Twins are going to swoop in. They're going to get Frankie Montas, and they're going to call up the Washington Nationals and get back, you know, that old fella that they had, the slugger, Nelson Cruz.
Montas and Cruz would be a pretty. Well, that's pretty nice. I like it. I got him going to Tampa Bay. Bay. I think they're going to try to swoop in and get him so that next year, when they're healthy again, you got him and Shane McClanahan as a nasty one too. I think they're going to be a hell of a lot better than they are this year. So they're probably going to somewhat punt on the season, but getting a guy like this to put him in that rotation next year while they continue to develop guys and get Juan DeFranco healthy because he's had surgery on his hand, so he's recovering too. Tampa Bay. What about the Cubs trio? Ian Happ, David Robertson, Wilson Contreras.
Wilson Contreras, I could see him going to the Mets. You know, that's the hot take right now. That's the hot commodity. At the beginning of the season, I wanted Wilson Contreras, but what we've gotten from Jose Trevino, I'm 100% on board with. Ben Rohrback, he's in the minors right now, rehabbing. He hasn't had the great start to his rehab, and 40 at bats, he does have 3 home runs though. So if you could kind of see it as 1 at bat every 10 home runs, or close to 1 at bat every 10 home runs, that the power is there, but the average is not there. His average is well below 200. He'll be back. Yeah, he'll be back. But Wilson Contreras to the Mets, David Robinson, Ian Happ. I just said it. I would love them on the Yankees. But I can see David Robinson, the Dodgers calling for David Robinson, Ian Happ. Ultimately, I think they'll keep on to Ian Happ to the offseason or to next year.
So it's crazy because I had Ian Happ and Dave Robinson predicted the Yankees too before they got Benetendi. I think Benetendi changes things, takes them out of the market for a lot of guys, and which is fine. So I know I'm of the belief now they're probably going to wind up keeping him too, Happ. But I have a feeling David Robertson and Wilson Contreras will eventually go to the Mets. They're already discussing a deal, and I think the Wilson Contreras on that Mets team would not throw the rotation out of whack. It would give them an additional good pitcher who can DH on occasion, give them that difference maker and a reliever that everybody knows that can handle New York already because he's been with the Yankees. He's reliable. He's staying in the National League. Putting him there, and I think put a guy or two behind or in front of Edwin Diaz, then you have a really nice 7, 8, 9 inning back end for the Mets. I think it would really put them over the top. I think they're going. I think they want to win the World Series this year. So
100%, especially with Stevie Cohen, Uncle
Steve,
Stevie over there.
They're gonna get
Ian Happ, to me, I would love him on the Yankees because of his versatility. He's another guy, just like David Peralta, that could play the outfield and the corner spots in the infield. So if we pivot off of Josh Donaldson for Madison Bumgarner, like you said, if we don't get anyone back from them, if we don't get Peralta back, we can pivot towards the Cubs and be like, listen, we'll take Ian Happ. We can put Ian Happ at third base, rotate him around on the outfield as well. If those type of lineups, when you got DJ playing third base, I think DJ at third base is the best lineup that we could put forward. DJ at third, Gleyber Torres at second.
And Rizzo at first, yeah. I mean, man, Happ used to be the third baseman for the Texas Rangers. So you're right, he does have corner infield experience. So that's a good point too. How about David Bednar from the Pirates?
David Bednar, ultimately, I think the Pirates hold on to him and use him to build around Cruz and all those other young prospects and talents that they have. But if not, of course, we're trying to be as down the middle as we can, but we want all these good players on our team to move forward for the postseason. But if I had to pick, if it wasn't obviously the Yankees, Seattle needs an extra bullpen arm. They could use a bullpen arm for the stretch run. Why not Seattle?
That's a good one. I have him staying too, but I think if he gets traded, he winds up going to Houston. Houston's also getting Lance McCullers back, one of their top starters for a while. So they're getting a trade deadline acquisition. I'm afraid that they might get somebody like Luis Castillo to swoop in and get him, and then you add him and McCullers to Verlander, and that's just a lights out rotation.
No.
I'm afraid of that, but at the end of the day, I think the Yankees are going to pay what they need to pay to get Castillo. So I think Bednar's a fit over there, and I think going back to Wilson Contreras, I think if he doesn't go to the Mets, he goes to Houston. So
that's one I forgot to put in there. Yeah,
I think the Astros and the Mets are going to be pretty aggressive these next couple of days to try to solidify themselves, put them in the World. Because I think that in the American League, the World Series either runs through Houston or the Bronx, in the National League, it either runs through Dodger Stadium or Queens. I think those. I mean, that's just, to me, that's what. My dark horse, the Blue Jays. I fear the Blue Jays.
Yeah, I fear the Blue Jays because they have the prospects to go out there and make a deal. Like, they have the talent and the prospects to go out there and make a deal. When it comes to Wilson Contreras, right, or when it comes to, just like you said, the postseason is going out to the Bronx or the World Series going to Queens, Houston. This Yankee team, Brian Cashman, every other team put to the side. We have to build a team to beat Houston. That's what we have to do. I know a lot of Yankee fans don't want to hear me say this. If we win the World Series this year and for some random reason Houston gets eliminated in the first round and we don't have to face them, it's not going to feel sweet, right? It's going to feel sweet if we beat Houston in the ALCS and win a World Series. If we just get a World Series without having to face Houston, will I enjoy it? Yes. But would it be as satisfying as beating Houston and getting the championship? No, it wouldn't be.
It's a good point, too. I mean, beating Houston is going to would feel really good. And based on what they did, and then beating the Mets would feel really good. I know they love sweeping us the other day for those 2 games.
Yeah.
I don't want that to become a habit. Like,
I don't want it. I haven't spoken to my mother ever since those 2 games because she's a diehard Met fan.
Yeah, I'm getting pounded by. I got this. Somebody sent me a photo of Max Scherzer holding a little baby Aaron Judge.
I got that same picture from my cousin.
That must have been viral going around, man. Yeah, we got to take care of these guys. Now, the guy that gave up the home run, the walk-off home run to Aaron Judge, Scott Barlow. Where do you see him going? Because I think he's movable. I think he's going to get moved.
Yeah, he's definitely movable. If I'm not mistaken, I think he has an extra year of control. He's not a free agent after this year. But Scott Barlow, yeah, the Royals, they're trying to reload that farm system, and they can definitely send him away. Would I want him? Not too sure, but I would take an extra arm. Like you said, coming back, I'm not going to trust Chapman coming back. I'm not going to trust Britton coming back. Throw those out the window. Besides that, not even too sure what we're going to get out of Severino when he comes back because of his type of injury that he had. So Scott Barlow, I'm 50-50 on trading the prospects for him because they're going to want a load for him. But I can see him going to either the Blue Jays or going to Houston, right? If Houston can't get an extra reliever, whether it's David Bednar or anyone else, I think they would pivot towards a lefty because they need an extra lefty in that bullpen. I think they only have one.
He's actually this guy's a righty, Barlow.
Oh, a righty, right? Okay.
He is, but his stuff, he gets righties and lefties out equally. But I actually see him going to the Braves to try to get some pieces because they're this close to the Mets now, and I think they're going to do whatever it needs to take. Like last offseason with the deadline, they added some pieces that put them over the top. Right here, Soler and Rosario, a couple of these other guys. Good role players. So I could see guys like Barlow being a great role guy there, adding to that arsenal to kind of go try to take down the tape. I think the National League East is going to go right down to the end. I mean, I think the Yankees will probably have the division sewn up by early September. Not so much in the National League East. I think it's going to be the Braves, Mets all the way down to them beating each other up. So I see both teams adding lots of depth pieces so that they can rest regulars, but have enough versatility to be really, really, really positioned for a World Series run. So Barlow, to me, is a fit for the Braves.
Yeah. Do you think the Mets can hold off the Braves? Like obviously it's going to depend about the trade deadline, but if you had to be realistic, do you think the Mets have enough or will get enough to hold off the Braves for the rest of the year?
If they get Wilson Contreras and DeGrom stays healthy, then yes.
Okay.
But DeGrom has to stay healthy. And Wilson Contreras, I think, will be the guy. I think that'll be enough. But that's with the assumption that the Braves aren't making moves, which they're going to do. So what moves, I don't know. Barlow would be a good start. I could see some other guys going there as well. I could see them, trying hard to get a Brian Reynolds. We just don't know. We just don't know. Like the Braves they do things on the quiet. Like they got Matt Olson now. I didn't expect them to get Matt Olson, but they did.
No. And he's having a great year. Also, at first he got off to a slow start. His average was up, his power was down. He's having a great year. You got to give it up to the Braves and to Olsen. And look at the prospects that they gave up for Olsen. They gave 4, maybe 5 top prospects for Olsen. Like that's the type of
2 and 3. They gave their 1, 2, and 3 prospects, top 3, and then I think a couple pieces after that. But that's a lot, man. I mean,
and Christian Pache, that center fielder that they gave up, he's a phenomenal center fielder. His bat's going to catch up sooner or later, but he's a phenomenal prospect. Pache.
Shea Langoliers, a catcher who's over there at Oakland now. They have a bunch of catchers, so it was a good move for the Braves, and I think adding Barlow there would be a good one. Now there's a couple of relievers on the Detroit Tigers. I think they'll probably get moved. Lefty Andrew Chafin, righty Michael Fulmer, and even their closer Gregory Soto. I could see them either moving them or trying to add pieces, but I think right now they might want to move the guys to get some youth and some prospects in here and start building around that young pitching nucleus and some of these other guys that they have. So like Andrew Chafin, a reliable lefty. I had originally, I wanted to come to the Yankees, but I don't know if he's going to. So I could see him. Chafin, I have. Make sure I got a list right here on my list. Andrew Chafin, Milwaukee Brewers too. I think you add him to that Josh Hader and Devin Williams in the back end of the bullpen. Crazy good, and they're going to be right down there at the end competing in the National League. So Brewers are kind of a dark horse team for me. They really are.
The Brewers and the Cardinals battling back and forth. That's going to be interesting to watch for the rest of the season.
Yep. And Michael Fulmer, Houston or the Yankees?
I can see Fulmer coming to us. Fulmer was that prospect that the Mets traded away for Yoenis Cespedes, if you guys don't remember that. But both Fulmer and Soto, I would love both of them, right? I'm going to be greedy and I'm going to want both of them. But Fulmer, more realistically, he just reminds me of what Jabba Chamberlain was supposed to be out the bullpen. Like that's what he reminds me of.
Yeah, it's a good point. You know, like it didn't work out as a starter, turned out as a reliever. I just wish the Yankees would have decided what to do with Jabba much earlier.
They should have just kept him as a reliever. Just kept him as a reliever.
Yeah, I mean, like the Tigers were smart enough to say this isn't working as a starter. You're going to the bullpen, and he's dominating in the bullpen. So that's a good fit too. Now, what about we talk about Martin Perez? But if you could see Martin Perez being moved, I have him. I want to make sure I get this right. Martin Perez, I have him San Francisco.
Okay.
Adding to that stable of young pitchers and whatnot. I think they're going to make some big moves in free agency because they have $100+ million coming off the books this season alone. But adding a guy like that, a reliable lefty pitcher to kind of add to that, and they could probably give him a couple-year extension. He'd be a good building block here in San Francisco. So that's why I have him going. I would like him to be one of the guys the Yankees get, but we'll see. San Francisco Giants is to me.
I have him going to the Blue Jays. The Blue Jays using him to shore up their starting rotation because that's what the Blue Jays need. They have the offense, right? They need the starting rotation and they need that bullpen. They have the back end of the bullpen. They got one piece of the starting rotation when it comes to Manoah. They need to solidify that bullpen for them going forward. They decided to draft strictly position players and build the best position player farm system you can, but they need some starting pitching to go along with that great hitting and that great offense.
Yeah, present. And with Ryu being out with Tommy John and Kikuchi kind of reeling, I know they're getting Nate Pearson back when they're young prospect pitchers, so that'd be good. But adding a guy like Perez would be a good idea.
Yeah, 100%.
All right, we have one left, man. It's the elephant in the room, dude. Juan Soto. Where do you have your boy Soto going? If he goes. I spoke on this a little bit earlier. Like I said, I would love him in a Yankee uniform. I would love him in the Bronx. I would love to see posters of him in Washington Heights as I'm walking my dog around the neighborhood. But ultimately, I think he goes. I think he goes to the Dodgers. I think he's going to go to the Dodgers, and if the Dodgers get him, that's a cheat code because that lineup is going to be just so deadly. The reason why I say the Dodgers is, the Padres were the favorite at first, but with that injury to Mackenzie Gore, their prospect pool just fell 10 feet to the floor. So the Dodgers are more willing to trade their top prospects than the Yankees are when it comes to Volpe and Dominguez, right? So I think the Dodgers, and they have the money, that ownership group over there in LA, they have the money and they have the willingness to go do it. They had no problem with trading for half of a season for Manny Machado and letting him just walk away at the end of the year. Yep. So I got a triangle: my heart, my mind, and my gut. 3 different areas. My heart wants him to be in New York, right? My mind tells me that the Dodgers are going to wind up pulling this off. My gut tells me, or I should say, my gut tells me that the Padres should come in and give whatever they need to do, to get this guy and take him away from the Dodgers. To me, they have a chip on their shoulder. The Dodgers keep edging them out in the season and making it, and the Padres keep missing out. To me, you put him in between Tatis and Machado, that's murderer's row 1 through 3. It's going to be impossible to get to those guys. And then you have other guys after that. To me, give up. Like when they got all those pitchers, you Darvish and Snell, they came up with like 25 prospects. None of them were in the top 5. Not one of them was in the top 5. I would give up C.J. Abrams, Mackenzie. Like Mackenzie was hurt, but this is when you load up on your top 5 prospects for a guy like Soto. They have the money to do it too, and I think they're probably going to want to trade Eric Hosmer at some point. Going to get even Will Myers. I know they're trying to move those guys, but like my gut tells me that the Padres should do this.
Yeah.
That's the way. But again, my mind says Dodgers. So
and when having these conversations with people, I always like to point out there and let's let them know, like Juan Soto, he's a marketing baby. Like he's going to be a marketing darling wherever he goes. You have to understand, Dominican people, when they love Juan Soto, they love seeing their own superstars flourish. You got to understand, there's 2 generations that are diehard Boston Red Sox fans. And that's solely because Pedro Martinez, Manny Ramirez, and David Ortiz were Red Sox, right? So that's why you have 2 generations of diehard Red Sox fans. If Juan Soto goes to the Padres with Tatis and Machado, you're going to have 3 or 4 generations of Padre fans. The Padres are going to be the cool team in baseball if they have Tatis, Juan Soto and Manny Machado over there in San Diego. It's going to be locked. Like, they're going to be the cool kids of the summer. They're going to be the cool kids of MLB. It's going to be so much fun watching highlights of them hitting home runs and them celebrating in the dugout.
That's good. That's good. That's a good point too. I didn't even think of that either, man. Well, that's what I have for today, man. I can't thank you enough for coming on, spending some time with me. And this video we'll be releasing this weekend as well, and we'll be that much closer to the trade deadline. So we gotta keep in touch so that we can talk more about the deadline. I want to do something after the deadline so we can see which teams actually got better, which teams actually got worse. So I think that'll be a fun conversation to have too. But Hector, thanks so much. And guys and gals, if you haven't taken a look at Yankees Morning Brew, go take a look at it. Take a look at Knights of Degen, Degen, okay? It's a podcast called Yankee Morning Brew. It's fantastic, okay? And again, he's part of the 161 Mafia too. So your support is greatly appreciated. Let's get this guy up. Let's get his subscriptions up. And please enjoy his videos. And again, thanks so much for coming on. And have a good weekend, brother. And I'll talk to you next time.
Just want to let everybody know as well, right, with the shows that we do. At the end of the show, when it's like 12 o'clock in the afternoon, we throw the link in the chat and anybody is allowed to come on and talk about the Yankees. So if you're somebody that's nervous and you've never been on a panel before, don't worry about it. You're more than welcome to come on and, bust your egg with us and have a good time with us in the morning.
That's how we do it over here. That's how we do it, man. Heck, thanks so much, brother. I'll talk to you next time.
No problem. Thank you.
Later, bro.